Hello, everybody. Well, how's everybody doing? Welcome, my guest, Lawrence from A Punk with Toys.
Thank you for having me. I feel like I've sat a lot in this chair this week.
Uh-oh.
I haven't even done one review all week, and I've done 4 live streams now.
Are you going into vapor lock?
I'm a little burnt out, I'm not going to lie.
It happens to us. I mean, realistically, we got this that we do for fun, and then you got, fun.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that rolls.
But this is easy. Like, you're the one hosting. So I'm going to sit here, answer your questions. When you host, it's like you're the one that has the questions. You're the one with the slideshow. You're the one controlling. Look, Mom, no hands.
Yeah. There you go. You get to relax for once, right?
Yes, and I enjoy every second of it.
Well, I'm going to do my obligatory shameless plug for my people.
As you should.
Please join the Patreon. There's 3 names. You can find them. I will leave it up there for a second. It's up there again. Don't be afraid. Join us. All right. I'm going to say hi to the chat and see who's here.
And hit that like button.
Oh, that would be great. Hit the like. Subscribe if you don't know me. If you enjoy this. If you don't, sorry. All right. There's Miss Allison. She's here. Good to see her. New person, Ray Paz. This must be somebody that follows you.
That is someone from
Oz. He's always here. Thanos Copter. Oh, okay. Matthew is putting you up on the examination table.
Listen, Matthew has dissected my brain more than enough, so I mean.
There's Tony. He will be my guest next week, actually. Yeah. All right. I think that is everybody. Oh, no, there's Action. Action Figs is here.
Thanos, I gotta say, I loved your fisting into Friday today. Evil Lynn is enjoying that way too much.
Way too much.
I have to say, as someone who may or may not have watched some specific things on the interwebs like that, you've seen the people that like that type of stuff, and she definitely does.
Yeah, definitely some weird stuff. All right. So we're going to talk about this diagram here. This Venn diagram. It's my thing. I kind of do this every week with everybody. Now, if anybody has not been following this, we're going to talk about IQ, socially awkward, and obsession. This is the geek, nerd, dork version of Myers-Briggs. So, if you have a high IQ and you have an obsession, you're a geek. If you have a high IQ and you're socially awkward, you're a dork. If you have social awkwardness with an obsession, you're a stalker. If you have all 3, you're a nerd. So, Lawrence, where do you think you fit in this?
Well, I'm yellow for sure. Obsession.
So you're obsession?
Yeah, okay. I'm yellow. Obsession, I am. There's no doubt about it. There's somebody who's straight edge. One of my old friends said to me once, he goes, it's a good thing that we don't drink. And I went, well, yeah, because I don't want to drink. And he goes, no, he's like, we are so obsessed over being the best that we can be. we would be the best raging alcoholics we could be. But honestly, from whether it be toys, whether it be skateboarding, I am so obsessed over specific things that I just
So is it geekdom or nerddom where you fall in there?
nerddom, because I would not say I'm socially awkward at all.
Well, you see, if you're a nerd, you are socially awkward. So you'd say you're just a geek because then you would be.
Well, you took it off. Now I can't see it.
Do I need to put it back up?
Okay. Well, I didn't finish.
Okay. Hang on. We'll pull it back up.
I am
You got to push a couple buttons here and we'll be good. All right. See, it's the IQ and the obsession that makes you a geek.
Yeah.
If you're a nerd, you're equally high IQ, socially awkward, and obsessive.
IQ, I don't know. I've never really had an IQ test. I'm not the smartest when it comes to book smarts. But I think, you guys have watched me more than enough. I think I have a fairly high IQ when it comes to.
You probably navigate between geek and nerd.
Yeah. Socially awkward, I am not at all. Not at all.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
I know what socially awkward is. I've hung out with skateboarders my whole life and punk rockers. All right, I know what socially awkward looks like.
All right. So you know how I kind of do these things, and for whatever reason, this month is Yojo June. So here, today is the beginning of Joe Fest, which explains why the numbers are where they are. Because everybody's at Joe Fest that's a Joe fan. We're two Joe fans that aren't at Joe Fest. Mine is life situation that would never recur for that. So why aren't you at Joe Fest?
Basically because the kids and I are going to Disney at the end of July. Or else, if we didn't have anything planned, I probably would have tried to work something out to go. But in all honesty, until I would say when I started the live streams at the end of Thursday, at the end of November, I really didn't communicate with too many people in the community. Now it's like so many people that I know. But in all honesty, it's really because all my funds are going to just make it to Disney,
Priority.
Universal, get it done, and then I can figure out how I'm going to recoup back on the financial track of where I need to. YouTube, you need to start paying more. Let's just say that. All right.
I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. YouTube doesn't pay. They're not gonna pay any more than they have to.
No, they don't. That's why you push merchandise and different things like that.
Beyond that, I talk about play all the time, and I talk about it as being that state of mind where you're absorbed in something so thoroughly that you're enjoying it and you just lose sense of time. When was the last time you actually played?
Well, would you consider skateboarding playing?
Yes.
Then when
did you enjoy it and did you lose track of time?
Yes. Not as much as I would like to because it hurts. But I would say I'm always fiddling around with stuff, whether it be this beautiful rock and roll with a really nice machine gun that's not from Gridiron Studios, or Tony, that's for you. Or like when I go out and skate, I try to get out twice a week. But to me, like useless wooden toy, that's exactly what that is. So I would say I play around a lot. And again, even with the figures, I sent you the pictures. They are, I try and display my figures in types of battle poses and different things like that. Because I just don't like the static poses. To me, that's kind of boring. I could buy statues and do that, or Super 7. Which obviously takes up more space when you try and do dioramas and different things like that. So, but like the O-ring room is set up like that. And even as a kid, that's how I used to spend hours upon hours building bases to destroy it in a half hour.
Yeah. So obviously you kind of touched on it there with your kid, with the way you played as a kid. Now, did you have to separate toys, or did there have to be this is the group that can't go with this group? How did you play as a kid?
Well, I would not say I mixed too much stuff because for me, even though I had Transformers, I had some Motu, some Thunder, um, Thundercats. In the end, I really had GI Joe. Um, all my GI Joes. I can remember exactly where I was the first time I saw the GI Joe commercial. I mean, that's how vivid it is. Sitting on the floor, commercial came on. I had the Lone Ranger and Kanto, the Snow Speeder, and I was playing Star Wars and Lone Ranger and everything, and saw that first GI Joe commercial, and turned around and asked my dad, "Can I get one of those?" And he said, "Well, we'll see." And the moment I got one, I would say that it was over. I mean, yeah, I'd go over friends' houses. We play, Masters of the Universe, but I never had like sets. Never had like Castle Grayskull or Snake Mountain, anything like that. I had Mask. But those things you really couldn't mix too much. You could mix the Star Wars stuff and the GI Joe because they were the same scale. But there was never any like GI Joe mixing with He-Man. He-Man and Thundercats you could because they were close. So I'm kind of anal about that stuff. I was going,
You got to keep everything separate. It has to be this.
but I do mix I do mix like the 4-inch and the and the 3.75 figures. That doesn't bother me. And even
Well, I mean,
having some of the
it's not as noticeable. I mean, it's not that.
having even some of the reaction figures kind of in the background. Um, I do that type of stuff too. So
All right, I'm gonna check back in with the chat. Everything's plastic collectibles and reviews come in. Thank you, sir. And I know I saw Nolan running around. The only other man who's in more chats than I am.
yes, I've seen Nolan in many lately, and I'm glad to have him part of the community also.
And Jacob, Cobweb Collector, he's got some good Motu reviews he's been doing recently. He just started his channel. Go by, stop on by, see what he's doing. So, do you remember kind of what play made you feel as a kid? How did you feel when you were playing?
Oh, I was lost. I mean, I was lost in it. Whether it was playing Army and running through the woods, I had all the guns. Like everyone would come to my house to get guns to play, and then we'd go in the woods and play Army and walk through the creek and do that type of stuff. Or not only did we play like GI Joe, we would play Cobra, where we do create big huge Cobra bases, where we might have a couple GI Joes that were like captured, and it would just be days and days of like Cobra, what's going on in the whole Cobra facility, and obviously the different factions that were going on, different things like that. I would get lost. I mean, I would get lost spending hours setting up the flag, creating bases. I used to like taking string and putting like taping string across to make it like it was laser wires, like a laser wire shield, so Cobra couldn't just fly in. Of course, knowing what I know now, anyone could get shot out of a Cobra Fang because they were completely exposed.
Yeah, they jump out anyway and get a parachute for whatever reason. From a flat back, it's the magic parachute that came from nowhere.
Yeah, but I would say like I was it's even with like skateboarding, like, or even at the gym. Like I wear my headset now and I try not to talk to people, because once I get to know people, then I talk a lot. If I don't know people, then I would just focus on what I'm doing. That's why I can go 3 hours on Monday without a problem. But like skating, like I would be hyper focused and not think of anything.
So as far as that feeling of loss, when was the last time you had that feeling where you just everything was in the moment?
Wow. I'd say it's probably been like a year or so.
Okay.
Before my knees started hurting skateboarding, like I would just sit up on the mini ramp at the skate park and go for 2-3 hours. Um, Toys are a little different nowadays because I don't really play with them. I'm I'm posing. Yeah, Anthony, you're one to talk. Call me at 12 o'clock at night going, oh, I didn't realize you had to go to bed. And next thing I know, it's 1:30 in the morning. Yeah. You'll find out next week. All right. Now you have the full teeth to get a conversation out of him.
My phone is on do not disturb after 10 o'clock. So
But like when it comes to toys, I'm not really playing. I'm displaying. So I always have something else going on. Other than I would say this, when I do get downstairs,
I would say that displaying is playing.
Yeah, but I
still
saw
time to deliberately put them some way.
Yeah, but I'll have other things going on, is what I mean. So I'm not like hyper focused. I will say this: when I get downstairs in the GI Joe room and I decide to redo things, next thing I'll realize it's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and half my display is completely destroyed, and I have to work in the morning. But I'm displaying around my house nowadays because the toys are everywhere. It's not as much because you kind of have things going, and sometimes you get a perfect pose and you don't want to mess with it, so they stay in the same. But getting lost in it, it's either in the GI Joe room, which would have been maybe at the end of last year, or when I'm feeling good skateboarding and it's just there's nothing else going on around me. But nowadays my knees don't like that, so.
Well, I want to talk about your displays since you keep bringing them up. So we're going to talk about them. And that is the one. Nope, that is what I want. There we go. So these are your classifieds. These are the classified vehicles, the 3D printed ones, right?
Yes.
And that's two hiss tanks. What's in the center?
So that's the mech hiss.
Oh,
okay. So that's created by Render Boy, and my buddy that printed these two other hisses. He printed one for me. I did a giveaway. For one, and then I printed one. He printed another one for me, and then when I was over his house, he said, "Do you want this one?" And I went, "It's a crack. Like I'm gonna say yes. I mean, I'm a junkie, for this stuff." And he's like, "Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Size-wise, are these comparable to the one we're going to be getting?
The hiss tank is just a little bit smaller.
This one is, or
yes, this one is like an inch smaller, an inch, I think, thinner, and a half inch lower.
Okay.
So roughly they're the same.
Roughly. So how big is this one realistically?
God.
The shelf doesn't really give me an idea of how big that is, but if it's like most shelves, you're talking 12 inches at the track.
Yeah, so that's 12 inches wide. So these things are, I believe, 10 inches wide.
So they're massive.
I think 17 inches long.
Okay. So when people say they want to do classified vehicles,
yes, they're idiots.
I hope they want to get a new home because you're going to need one to store.
Well, I did that whole video on it, just saying I don't think people realize how big they are.
Yeah.
And then people, kind of got mad at me. I'm like, I'm not trying to talk you out of it or not. I don't care. I'm just. I have a polar bear over there that was 3D printed. It's large. I just showed the 3D printed a Skyhawk of mine. It's almost as big as the Sky Striker.
Almost as big as the Sky Striker. Yeah, I know.
My buddy that printed these, he has it's a 3D. He's in the middle of printing It's a 3D Skyhawk that has seats back to back. Someone else did it. The thing is, it's I think almost 2 feet long. It's huge. And again, I look at him. I'm like, I don't know where you're going to put this stuff because he's going house hunting actually tomorrow. He said so.
Yeah, exactly. And this is some more. This is what your Cobra display for the most part.
Okay, so
I kind of got it's a hodgepodge of.
all right. So what this is, so on the top, yeah, I have Cobra Commander. That's a 3D printed throne. What's actually underneath it is I've mentioned this before. I don't like Serpentor. Serpentor is not the leader of Cobra. So when I got him, I decided he's going to be the coil leader.
When's the last time you just in the bathroom? Faucet's been running.
Okay.
So has it been on for long?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe 15 minutes.
Okay, that's not bad.
So all the Action Force bad guys are, and Dr. Mindbender are part of Coil.
Okay.
I don't like that. I don't like Sergeant Slaughter. I've kind of addressed that numerous times. So this is Sergeant Slaughter being tortured, and then there's a clone of him in the tank right there.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So that's what that's supposed to be. It's him.
Have you seen the RoboCop, the NECA RoboCop battle damaged RoboCop?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't have
the. I found it for $40, and it works great as a memory scanner.
All right, yeah, that would, because this was all 3D printed by my buddy, and the bed is actually too small.
Yeah, it looks a little small, but it fits because I have my Snake Eyes in it. Movie Snake Eyes, I mind you. I got to do something with it.
So originally I had Serpentor on the top there before I redid the top, or the top shelf. This is them breaking in to try and get Sergeant Slaughter out. That's why they're at the computers. This is a 3D printed door, the same door that I have that's on the arcade here. It fits perfect. And then down there was just I needed to find some space. So
it works for Dreadnought Cycle, and you obviously have Pandora with your Dreadnoughts like I do with mine. So
yes, and that is Pandora, obviously sticking in, but it looks like the person she copied, Zarana, is about to blow her head off.
Yeah.
You'll notice there's a lot of things in Action Force in there that might be a little suggestive.
I have my stuff. It's most of my not the Swarm guys, they're out. Most of my Action Force figures are actually boxed up now because I just don't have space for them, and I'm out of the line. So
I just sold some of mine, so
the only thing I'll be getting is probably gear kits, and that's just because they're cheaper.
Yeah.
So this is obviously the other side. Now, is this another one of those mechs?
Yeah, that was the original one that he gave me.
Okay.
So I use that as like the coil stuff.
Gotcha.
So let's see. Yes, that is the Cobra Roomba action. That's the Cobra Roomba.
Oh, is that the last picture? Is he asking if that's the Cobra Roomba?
Yeah, the Roomba down there.
Yes, it is the Cobra Roomba.
That's really the Storm Shadow one.
Apparently, Mindbender had a different name.
It's Dr. Thigh-Bender. Well, okay, so you asked quickly. Growing up, we didn't like Dr. Mindbender or Sergeant Slaughter, and my best friend growing up, he took the arms off of Sergeant Slaughter, put it on Dr. Mindbender. We got rid of the cape. We both did it, and in our lore, we had no Mindbender, no Slaughter. It was Dr. Mindslaughter. So you'll still hear me like say Dr. Mindslaughter at times because it just kind of slips out.
Yeah.
Now his arms are so big that I wouldn't even need to put Sergeant Slaughters on him.
Yeah. Yeah. They made him buff, that's for sure. Now, here's an interesting thing. You're using your skateboards.
Yep.
Now, did you buy the skateboards for this particular purpose?
No, these are actually old skateboards of mine. When my ex moved out, I decided to design and display things the way that I wanted to. And these are just supposed to be shelves. You really realize skateboards do not make great shelves because of the kick on the tail and the nose and the concave. But all of these figures, mind you, There are no stands. There are no sticky tack. They stand by themselves, learn to pose your figures. Anyway, and they don't fall over. And people bounce around my house all the time.
So why is the gung ho getting eaten?
He's not. He's actually. If I had a higher resolution picture, you'd actually see that there is a blast effect coming out.
Ah, okay.
I only have one blood splat, and for a while it was shooting out the back of him.
Gotcha.
Yes. So you can see there is a blast effect.
Right.
This will make you laugh. The moment Crocmaster was announced, I was super excited to keep gung ho, kind of like in this fighting position against the crocodile.
Okay. All right. This one is obviously slightly unfinished one.
Yeah, I just need to throw some stuff over there.
Well, I mean, my biggest issue with Falcon, besides the head sculpt and the awful completion, that backpack, you can't stand him with that backpack on very well at all.
Or it just falls off.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It falls off or he's off balance because it's too heavy.
Yep. Ricardo's is the same way.
His isn't as bad, but yeah, he does tend to flop a little bit.
Yeah, and they have the same body, I believe. So it does make sense.
All right, so this is shelf 2. This is your ninja shelf.
Yep. So I was trying to figure out like what to do for like a background, and then I remembered I had Lincoln Logs, and it works for something. Like a matter of fact, the original thing was I had these Lincoln Logs, and it was supposed to be like a obviously like a log cabin, and I had barbecue smashing it down, and I had like Cobra Troopers like standing right behind it. Mm-hmm. Then I finally turned it into the ninja display, and let me tell you something: those big bins of Lincoln Logs we have, they don't really cover too much space.
No.
You think that there's more in there than there are.
Yeah.
You're trying to put them up against a 6-inch figure. So.
Yeah. Yeah, you get overwhelmed there a bit. Now, before we get into this part, now, you still have some of your childhood toys.
I still have a lot of it.
Now, when you do collecting now as an adult, do you still go and look for, are there any differences in your collecting habits because you have a lot of your childhood toys?
Yes. I've always like kind of picked up stuff here and there. And there was a time that I knew everything. I would sit there. Every now and then I'd go through it, and my ex would be sitting there, and she'd ask a question. And I knew exactly what figure I had, if he was complete, or if he had what he didn't have, if he had the accessory pack weapon, or maybe I changed the weapon that he came with. And I just remember her looking at me, and she went, "You can't remember what I told you yesterday, but you know exactly all this stuff from 20 years ago." And I said, well, this is important. So when we split up, obviously you go a little bit more into it. And I was actually just talking to my cousin today about it. There's been plenty of times that I've ordered something off eBay or found something at a toy show, and I get home all excited I finally completed the figure, and then I look up and I'm like, oh shit, that's right. I ordered this off eBay, so now I have 2 complete ones. So I do still try and pick some stuff up, not nearly as much. Not nearly as much as before. I wanted 5. I didn't have the money, so there's 1 HasLab sketch. I wanted 5 for the specific reason to have 5 on there with the wings closed, because no one realizes just how big No one realizes how big the F-14 is, and even bigger with those wings open. Mm-hmm. So you can see how they overlap each other.
Yeah,
they really do.
And you obviously had to reinforce the dock that pops down, right?
Where?
No, he didn't. Never mind. You got the fuel tanker on that one.
Oh no, but that is like, I will say this. That is one of those things that sometimes you're hanging by just a prayer. Like,
oh, is this what we call the plastic prayer?
Yeah, it's just now I
Don't
raised
fall into the plastic.
yeah, it's and like like
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff. Like the Terradrome is my original one. One of the headquarters is my original one. The flag is mine. One of the battle platforms is my original one. Now I have a complete one that a buddy sold me. He sold me a whole lot for like $275, and I added things up a few years ago, and it was well worth over $1,000. So
yeah,
I walked away excited.
So, are there anything with your vintage collection that you still want to get?
Oh yes. There is. Yeah. I no longer have a Rattler. That is, I will get another Rattler eventually.
And those are hard to get now, at least complete in good shape too.
A couple years ago, I had a bid for 226 on one, and I'm like, if someone outbids me, they can have it. And then I got outbid, and I was kind of happy.
Yeah. I feel that way when I get outbid on a Stronach custom that I'm trying to get in on. The Rattler at 225, I started getting twitchy, and this didn't.
The Rattler is one that I definitely want, and I had one as a kid. Mostly everything else I've either had that I want. Like I do want a Defiant one day, but you're looking at $1,000 easily for.
Oh yeah.
And I never I was out of GI Joe by then when the Defiant came out.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff that I don't have or never had is all going to be stuff that came out after. Yeah. I would really love to get the Sears exclusives, the Mobat that's in the black and red. I would love to get that. I forget what it's called. But like stuff that I had from my childhood, the Rattler is the one thing that I really do want. I think it's the only thing that I don't have. I'm trying to think of what I don't have that there's a few things, but I bought so much stuff. A lot of it's just like little itty bitty things. But again, you start amassing so many things.
Yeah, you do. And I think that's kind of the trick with the balance is sometimes you let things go that aren't as meaningful. And I think that's one of those things that we do as collectors. It's kind of unique in our thing because sometimes we worked really hard to get this thing that we wanted so bad for so long. And then we're just okay with it's got to go.
And the one thing that I last year I started actually selling off some of the O-ring stuff where I had duplicates of it.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to have a beautiful, not just a setup like this, but like an actual diorama of everything happening. But I realized financially where I am, I'm not moving. I live in a townhouse. I don't have that much space. That thing takes up a lot of space.
No,
right? Yeah. I mean, it looks like it does, and then when you see it in person, you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's that much bigger."
Yeah, no, I had one. I had a flag as a kid.
Okay. So
I had everything that's most of the stuff.
I started looking at a lot of the duplicates that I had, and I'm like, why do I need 2 vintage Stingers when I just got another O-ring Stinger here? I don't need 3. 2 is good. I don't need this extra hiss.
My ex-wife sold my entirety of my Joe collection, including my flag, for $75. And that's every vehicle, every figure.
I hope that it was someone who really wanted it.
So do I. But no.
I sold a bunch of stuff.
That was a collusion with my mother. My mother and my ex-wife kind of colluded for that because they were space takers. I mean, it was a lot of stuff.
I told my kids, I go, I don't care what you do with my toys when I pass away, because they mean something to me. If you want to keep them, that's great. All I say is, if you want to sell them, do not get ripped off on them. They are worth money. Get what,
Yeah. Get the money back for what it's worth. But this was in '96, so I mean, a flag in '96 was not worth.
It was still worth a lot.
It was worth more, but it still wasn't worth. It wasn't that bad. But it's still that was what you did.
My buddy, I've sold a bunch of stuff to him for his kid. So his son really got into G.I. Joe. It was a guy at work. He bought the flag, Sky Striker. He bought a huge lot. And he goes, "Do you want to know how much I paid for this?" I'm like, "How much?" He goes, $300. And I go, "Does he know that?" And he goes, "Yeah." He basically said to me, "I want this to get played with again, and your son's going to play with it." Yeah. And they played with it. Like, because I'd skate with him. So his son skates. His son was collecting, but he was also starting to get that. He started getting that age like last year, and he's like, "I think he's going to stop." I'm like, "Just keep it." Like, and so, because he's still like picking things up, and I'm like, "Who's the real collector?" And he's like,
Yeah. But I think for some of us, our kids are a gateway back into it. So kind of with that in mind, were there any lulls in your collecting activities, or did you always collect? Did you?
No, there's definitely been lulls. I mean, I've always been a collector. So I would say after 8th grade, it all became about skateboarding. But there was a time that I had like 50 skateboards on the wall. I slept in the basement. My basement, the walls weren't done, so I just had the brackets in there, and they fit the skateboard perfect. And I would take people's old boards and I would put them up there, so that's basically what my paneling was. And there was at one time I had like over 50 skateboards hung on my wall. But I collected, CDs and tapes, records, collected, the shirts of the concerts that I went to. So there's always been some sort of collecting, I would say. Something my ex never understood, because she didn't have anything. So she didn't understand hobbies. But being like, with being in the punk scene and skateboard scene, when I did buy toys and stuff, no one really thought anything about it. No one thought anything about it because we were all kind of doing something kind of geeky. So I remember picking up like Motu stuff. I never got into any of the other G.I. Joe stuff because I didn't like it. But when 95 came out and Power of the Force came out, you don't even want to go down that road.
Is that what kind of brought you back into toy collecting full time kind of thing?
For a bit. Because I was collecting comics. I was collecting comics in high school. And it's the kind of something that Alyssa, who the hell's Alyssa? Alice and I were talking about. Where, like, that was one of those things you kind of hide a little bit more. But I always had like my vehicles, like my Tomahawk, my Night Raven, they have screws in them so I could hang them. Like, I put a screw in there so I could hang them. And they were always in my room. But in 95, when Power of the Force came out, I went hog wild with every single type of figure you can imagine. And if you didn't collect, let me explain something to you. The first wave came out, and then there was the .01 figures, and I had to get all those. And then there was the long lightsaber figures. That's how they came, but they were too long, so they made a short lightsaber, but they had the long lightsaber tray. I had to get those. And then they had the short lightsaber tray, and then they turned to green, and then there was Boba Fett with half circle.
There you go. That's how they got it.
And I was buying 2 of each, one to open, one to keep in package. Not the mistakes or whatever you want to call it. I didn't buy 2 of those, but I messed all, and I was laid off, and I sold everything, and I probably didn't even make half my money back.
Well, I mean, nowadays you sell those things for $1 a piece. So,
Yeah, well, that's what. Well, I was laid off. This was over 20 years ago, and when I sold it, and it's funny because I can still walk into a toy store now and find those figures for $5.
Yeah,
On card,
in good shape. Yeah,
in good shape.
yeah. I sold all of my vintage Star Wars and then my Power of the Force vehicles and stuff because when that came out, I got all those vehicles that I couldn't get as a kid. So I got it at. I got the the great, nice, fancy Millennium Falcon. Got X-Wings. I got Snow Speeders. I mean, I had every vehicle that they made. I had a couple of them. I had 2 different versions of Slave One. I mean, what else could I say at that point? That was kind of that way for me. That's what got me back into collecting as an adult was Power of the Force too. So
that Power of the Force, that 95 Power of the Force line, I think was really, really huge for collectors. I mean, it just, they were all on steroids. Even Darth Vader's robotic suit was on steroids. But I think it pulled so many people back in that it's not even funny how many people, because we were all over. We were going from Kmart to Target, then we were waiting till 9:30 when Toys R Us opened up, and then you get to the point where the same thing happened with why I got into Motu again. Because I was waiting for new G.I. Joes, and I kept walking by it. I tell my daughter, I'm like, I'm going to buy those eventually. I'm going to buy them. I don't want to. And then finally, it happened, and she's like, huh? You said you were going to. That got me into just like, I would pick up Star Trek figures. I used to have all the Spawn figures.
Yeah.
I still have the Meathead Spawn and the original Spawn. I think the 5 points of articulation, maybe the knees bend.
Oh, the Violator was the worst one, where it was just bendy wire in the arms.
I have Violator.
I have all those. Those are in my garage still. They're in tubs along with all of my early Toy Biz X-Men figures.
But see, I was not really into those, so that I never really picked up. I picked up some Batman stuff. But for the most part, it was, and it's kind of surprised I didn't pick up X-Men because I love the X-Men. I absolutely love the X-Men, like the Age of Apocalypse and everything. That was, but it's the same with Batman, like Dark Knight, not Dark Knight, Nightfall and everything. But it's straight, the Spawn stuff. Obviously, the Star Wars was the big thing. But then I would say, around 90, probably 2001, when I met my kid's mom. That's probably when I left my ex, and I had split up my other ex. And I remember being in Kentucky when we were in Kentucky when I think it was episode 2 figures came out, and I bought them all because they were there. Walmart that was built into the mountainside. Craziest Walmart I've seen.
If you build it, they'll come, right? See, Action gets it. Everybody keeps saying hit the like button. I'm like, that's violence. Why we got to be so violent with the like buttons? Why can't we just gently caress it and talk to it sweetly? I don't understand it. Such violence. I'm going to go back to sharing the screen here. All right. So walk me through this. This is obviously your main G.I. Joe display. This is your flag and your 4 Sky Strikers, I guess. Your 5th one is the one that you have behind you. Is this in the front?
No, so there's 5 on there. You just
1, 2.
The gray one is the gray one is all the way at the end. It actually blends into the flag picture back there.
Okay, I was gonna say because I'm.
There are 5 there. They're all different ones.
Okay.
They're all different ones.
Yeah, I see that. So obviously this is that. Okay, I see it now. The blue and black one, grayish, black, blue. Okay.
Yeah,
And that's the one from the
Crimson
2-pack,
Stripe.
right? From like 2015.
Yep. I found that at Ollie's for like $40. And why I didn't buy them all and sit on them because now they're going for major money.
Yeah.
Major money.
$350. Yeah.
And they had a whole bunch at Ollie's for $40. Whole bunch.
All right. There's a little bit. Okay, so this is the one with your new one on front, right?
Yep. And it's pushed back because the room is so small you can't see the other side that it's hard for me to fit by it if it's hanging off of it.
And assuming over here is the tactical battle platform is what it looks like.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Devilfish. Is there a whale somewhere here?
The whale is right next to the front Sky Striker.
No.
Where's that?
Picture there.
Oh, you know what? I must have moved it so I could take pictures.
Oh, okay.
Right now, so part of that whole lot that I had that my buddy sold me for $275 was a complete whale, a complete hydrofoil, a complete mauler, a complete devilfish, a complete battle platform, a bunch of figures, including a complete version 2 Snake Eyes. Like,
nice.
Now that I add it up, it's well over 1,000. Especially consider I sold a mauler not too long ago. One of my original ones that still worked. I think I sold it for like $320, and it wasn't even complete. So
nice. So let me get this here.
Okay, you have started something with this like button here.
With the what button?
You have started something with the like button. Let me tell you.
Oh, you know what? It's fine. See? Uh-oh. Matthew says you need some Moffex.
Well, if Matthew wants to send it over, or hey, if you guys want to be Monday Night Toy Enablers and pick one out and get me up to that point, then you guys are more than welcome to.
Well, we'd have to figure out something that actually works Moffex for you. That's the thing. Because you're not like, you don't have a whole lot of. So, there it is. Okay. So you talked about this on Monday.
Yes.
Now, this thing's going to be pretty massive.
It's going to be huge.
The HasLab Sky Striker is what? About 2.5 feet?
$23.5 inches.
Okay, so right at about 2 feet. And this is supposed to be
34 inches.
34 inch. Okay. I thought I said 24. But okay, so it's almost 3 feet.
Yes.
And those his tanks are how big again? 2 feet?
I believe 18 inches long.
So basically this is double the size of the his tank.
Yes.
In length.
Yep. But
that's exactly what I put that.
But with the stand, you can still put figures underneath it.
Yeah.
So
but you also have to account for the space that it's going to go upward as well. So
listen,
this is
you
going
can
to be
always
something that you have to put at the top shelf.
You just lower your shelving. It's that simple.
Well, or you're going to just have to put it at the top and pray that it doesn't fall off and have a skydive and death.
Well, you just lower the shelving up top so there's more than.
I know.
That is going to be interesting because, I'm already having that issue with what am I going to do when I get Point Dread because my Castle Grayskull is at the top and almost touching the ceiling already.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I'm going to put Point Dread under.
I finally broke down and got a gray skull, but it's just going to be for display, for background for photos and stuff like that. I'll probably do some customizing on it to darken it up a little bit in places, make it actually look like a castle.
Well, I was able to put mine. Did I take a picture of that?
No, I don't think so.
I thought I sent you a picture. I thought I sent you all.
No.
I didn't send, yeah.
Most of the stuff was Joe that you sent me, so.
Really, so I have mine where it's open, but you can still see the front. But I also have the Secrets of Grayskull that plug into it.
Okay.
So you kind of, it's like, I gotta have it. You gotta be able to see the inside along with the outside.
Okay. Yeah. No, so I want to kind of I'm going to throw a curveball at you a little bit here.
Sure.
Now, you've gotten a few of these. But
you guys really love the AWOC figures.
You know what? They're really toyetic. They pose really well. They're really well balanced. They have great sculpts. You got some interesting posability with them, and
yeah,
there's something different about the way they are. It's familiar yet different. Yes. And the story alone makes it a little better than some of the other things that we've been given.
I don't read the story, so I don't know. I know there's a whole story, but there's a whole story with Action Force 2 that I don't read.
Yeah, I don't. It's a military story. I don't need to read a military story. That's fine. I got it. Standard military play. This is a little different. I'll let you know.
I'm saying there is a story to it, but to me, for me, it's G.I. Joe. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, and there's something about these particular figures and the way that they look, and the price point is great.
Yeah,
and the amount of stuff that you get for that price point, like these are they're basically their slate kind of figures. They're $22, same price as you would get for something else, but paint app is fantastic. The sculpt is great.
There's not a lot of paint apps on them, and I'm fine with that. There's only like a few paint apps on them when you actually look at them. I mean, it's fine.
No, there's just something different about it.
Really nice. So you asked me what I think of them?
Yeah.
I only have 3 of them. I think they're just a solid figure. The way I had no issues taking the hands out, no issues posing them. I think they look absolutely wonderful as something like Planet of the Apes, where you can pose them with your Joes where you're having a battle. I didn't care for. There were some of them that I really did not like the face sculpt. That's why I only got the apes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're not pinless, but I'm not one of those people that feel like I have to have pinless. But
did you see the head packs?
I did when you just showed it, but I hadn't seen it before. That was the one thing Dan Larson had pointed out. I know when he did the review of them, and he said he said the only 2 complaints that I could have is that they all have very stoic faces, and you probably wouldn't have that going into battle, and I kind of agree with that. And he said there was a little bit of paint rub. For the most part, I think these are really good figures, and I think like if you like action figures, you should pick up one of these just to see how they are.
Yeah.
Again, one of my complaints, and I understand why they do it. So before anyone jumps down my throat, if I'm going to say it about Action Force, I have to say it about this. They're just constant repaints. And I understand why. So I don't want anyone to say, you understand why. And I understand that Classified, Hasbro does the same thing with Legends and Classified. The bucks are the same.
Well, I mean, and that's how they save money. I mean, at the end of the day, they save money that way, and it's fine.
And as long as you turn it back into the company, I understand. But for me, because because I'm not all in on the lore, I don't feel that I need to have like all the repaints of like a figure I already have, because I already have one that I think looks better. Where like with G.I. Joe, it's like I have to have one of each, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that if you like action figures and you like the 6-inch line, you have to pick one of these up. I was so impressed with the hands, how easily the hands came, popped in and out. I thought the shields and like the spears and the knife, the swords and everything were wonderful. They just have this real solid, and like I did pictures with like Storm Shadow on the back. There is no stands holding them up.
Yeah.
It's Storm Shadow on the back of him. And yeah, they have a larger footprint, but it's not like it's huge.
Yeah.
But it is a large footprint, and as long as you pose them properly, you can easily balance a figure on top of it where they're fighting. But honestly, I really like them. I mean, I think you guys are a little overboard at times, but
no, I'm not.
But you know what? But I don't care. It's something that,
and I bring them up because I want to get the things out for these independent companies.
Listen, I'm the same way about Plunderlings. I think everyone should pick up a Plunderling because they're just fun little toys that are kind of expensive for $35. They're all the same repaints. All the faces are the exact same.
Yeah.
They change the ears. So
you got Plunder Strongs and Plunder Longs, and you got all those.
Well, if they come out ever.
But I mean, there's other options out there if you don't want just the little cute little guys. You want the bigger guys. But I mean, this is one of the things that's different about companies like this is they're taking a chance. They're building a board game. They're giving you a different way to interact with your toys.
And I'm like, okay, so when you look at like Valaverse and Action Force, it is a line that and the reason why I started picking it up is it fits in with the classified line. This here, I don't know if there's really anything that it just fits in with. It's kind of its own thing, unless you want to do a mix and match, which is something you kind of talked about before, right?
It could mix in with Thundercats, but maybe even Motu.
The problem is that the Thundercats absolutely suck because Super 7 doesn't.
I know. But I'm just saying, you could do it with Masterverse as well. I mean, these guys can fit into that.
I made the comment that
even though they would look, I mean, if even paint app wise and sculpting wise, setting my AWOCs next to my Mythics, it's definitely a different.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Looks perfect together.
Yeah.
And I didn't even knock anything over when I got them off the shelf. So I'm even more impressed with that.
At least not yet, right? You'll know in 5 minutes.
They're almost the exact same height. They could easily fit in with.
Any fantasy.
Yeah, but like the Masterverse stuff.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, if you want to have, I like them because I can have Rakondo and Spirit hunting them.
Well, I mean, it would fit in with Joe because if you really think about Joe, how many times did they do weird, non-existent animals?
No.
Come on, Fatal Fluffies. Come on, weird animals in the Mass Device underwater thing.
Were those in the comic books? Okay.
Lauren. I know you like the comics, but there are other canons but reality is that for those people that follow that, it could.
Listen, I ordered them specifically because I watched everyone else do a review on it, and no one had a bad thing to say about it. And it kind of goes back to the whole Action Force thing when a buddy of mine, I was trying to decide whether or not to buy Action Force. I'm getting into toys. I wanted something to go, and what I heard was they're the biggest pieces of trash ever, or they are the greatest figures ever. There was no in between. Yeah. And my buddy just happens to go, "Hey, you know what? I have them. If you want to review them, you're more than welcome." And I started collecting the line. So from that first wave, I came away with a feeling that they are way better they have a lot less flaws. They have a better upside than downside.
Yeah.
And they have, in my opinion, they have worked on making their figures better and better. I'm just tired of the exact same figure over and over and over.
Yeah. It's the same buck, same body, same.
Yes. Just 3.5
different legs, but they're all the same. Yeah. I got it. I know.
But like with these, that's the reason why I got them. And I picked out the 3 that I like the best. And when I can take the hand off really easy, and then it pops on, and it's nice and tight, to me, that's a sign that it's a really good figure. The Mezco Destro hands come off really easy, but they also can fall off pretty easy because it's not a big, huge peg.
Yeah.
But yeah, I told Matthew's got to get some of these.
Yeah.
He's got to at least try one.
Matthew has not tried one?
No. Which is odd, considering he buys everything else.
Bad Matthew. You got to try one, at least one. So
I will say this. There is a channel member of mine, or I don't know if he's a channel member, but someone in my community, he had hit me up and he said, I want to buy a figure for you to review and then do a giveaway. Because I don't want to do G.I. Joe. And we hit up Hella Dope Toys. And once, I don't know what figure he's ordering for me, but it's one of the AWOC figures. So once they get Wave 2 in, they're going to ship it out to me. I'm going to do a review, and then I'm going to do a giveaway of it. And he's just like, hey, I just want to help support the channel, and I don't want to do G.I. Joe. Maybe something else I can bring some other people in. Listen, I did reviews of all 3 figures. I don't even think one of them got 300 views, which is kind of surprising because they're such good figures. But I think so many people had already done reviews of it. That's how you can spoil it if you want. I just don't know what I don't think it was it wasn't a big secret. He just didn't tell me what it was.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. All right, so
I hope it's one of the big boys because I do want to.
The Chong, yeah, I
want one of those in my hand, but I don't know any of their names.
And my Tanger.
Yeah, I don't know any of their names, so I'm not even going to try.
They're the big boys.
Yeah.
So, and Tanger's the PowerCon exclusive. He's the
and he's going for what, like 140 or something?
It was only 60 for me plus shipping of 16, so it wasn't bad. Okay, but if you buy him on Big Bad Toy Store, he's $99.
Oh yeah, then it's $100. Okay. Yeah, because I'd seen that it was only like 60.
Yeah, no, the Legends of Dragonor pack is like $260 or some ridiculous number because they're charging $90 shipping.
Is that the
That's the Motu kind of stylish.
I'm sorry if the makers are watching this. I think it looks awful. I didn't like it.
So okay, so obviously you kind of dabble in a lot of areas where toys are concerned, and most of it's for reviews, I'm assuming. So what are your main toy lines that you're actually collecting?
Classified. If you didn't figure that one out.
No, not at all.
Classified. I'm at the point when it comes to the Motu Origins that I'm just picking up the figures that I want. Throughout the past couple of years, they've all been figures that I wanted because they were all figures from childhood. Now it's picking and choosing. If I don't like the way it looks, I don't pick it up. So still Motu Origins. I did just get hit up with Saurozoic Warriors. So they just hit BBTS. I'm more of a Care Bear guy. I like the Care a lot. I like the Care Bear cousins. They have the cars. Don't ask me about Care Bears because you hear way too much. Hey, listen. Quick story. I think as I mentioned it yesterday. I always say collectors should not have kids because it will drive us nuts if something isn't complete. And my stepdaughter, who's 26 now, when she was younger, they came out with these Care Bears. They were just molds of the old one. I could never find one of them. I can't tell you how many Walgreens I went to. And her mom would be like, she doesn't care. I'm like, but she's missing one. I don't even know where they're at anymore. All right, probably in the garbage. I'm like, I drove to so many Walgreens because they were like Walgreens exclusives. I'm like, she's missing one. It doesn't matter. She doesn't
So
care.
it was your inner collector that was twitching at that.
Yeah. Oh my God. And here's another thing. This is strange. Care Bears are the biggest ones, but other figures do it. You know when you first turn like a head or an arm and it makes that little pop noise?
Uh-huh.
I love that. Care Bears were the best. So they sat there for like a day, and you grabbed them, and like I'd be sitting there with all 10 of them, and I'm like,
I guess that works for you. Is that a coping mechanism for you there, Lawrence?
It is. It's like people that pop the bubbles on their pops at the restaurants and everything. You know, the little bubbles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. People that have to do that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I just got the Swordswork Warriors. Whether I'm going to be all in on that line, we'll see when I get the first 5. I'm all in on the G.I. Joe Mezco.
So you pre-ordered the?
Well, yeah, they're all on pre-order. Matter of fact, they're all paid for except for the Snake Guys. He's only partially paid for it.
Yeah. For me on Mezco, it's I will probably get the Firefly, and I got Destro. I haven't even pulled him out of his box yet. That's my plan for tomorrow night. But I think I'm just going to pick and choose. Yeah, he looks great. I'm going to pick and choose with those because I'm not a huge Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow fan, so I don't really need those.
The thing, I mean, those words just make me mad.
You know, I'm allowed to not like Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. It's one of those things that, you know what? It was a thing to catch on with the 80s fantasy that everybody had about ninjas in the 80s. It was one of those things that came along.
I'm all in on the Gargoyles line. A matter of fact, I just hit up my toy, and I asked them, do they know when Angela's coming out? Because if you order from Best Buy, they started shipping them.
Really?
Then he told me that the Steel Clan should be in next week, but doesn't know when the Angela will.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Steel Clan was coming out just yet, so I'm all in on the Gargoyles line. I love
I'll
that.
probably get one Steel Clan, and I'll probably get Xanatos in the Steel Clan armor. I don't know that I want the regular Xanatos.
I'll get them all because I have issues.
So technically, you're saying you're a completist.
With some things, yes.
Okay.
So it depends on what you say, because I have every classified, but I do not have those field variants because that is not a separate figure. When people say that there's, 4 roadblocks and they're counting the field variant, that's the same figure. They just did a slight repaint. Now,
But did you get the roadblock that had the slightly different repaint?
I did because I found it for $8.
Okay.
But I was not going to spend $20 to $25 for it. So I don't have the Destro without the thing on it, without the circle, and I don't have the Duke Scarlet or the Snake Eyes without the little red. Even though I think they look better. To me, there's not enough, but the number isn't different. So to me, it's not a different figure. So I am a completist when it comes to looking at those numbers.
Okay.
Although the Regal Cobra Commander is a different one, even though it has the same number.
It has the same number, and it has a different box, though. The box is slightly different.
It is. People don't realize it, but I forget what number it was. The number is colored slightly different.
Yeah, 6.
Very, very different. But if you look at it, it's there.
Yeah. No, I have the Regal variant. I have him up on the wall in my bedroom.
Yeah, I would say I will be a completist. With classified until I finally miss one that I can't get. Then I might start picking and choosing. But until I can get every single one of, as long as I get every single one of them, I'm gonna continue to stay. As long as the pocketbook says that I can. So Dark Claw is saying that sounds accurate. We've heard no word on Angela, but we have charged for the Steel Clan. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
But Best Buy, people get charged and they just ship them out. I'm like, I didn't pre-order from Best Buy. I can't keep pre-order. It's funny because I was listening to Action Fakes today, and they had Dark Claw, and he was talking about how he keeps reading how all these people pre-order from 3 or 4 different places.
Yeah.
And first one that gets it, it ships. They get my money. I know as a toy store owner, he doesn't like that, and I understand that.
The only places that I do that to are Pulse and BBTS. The small businesses, I'm not going to do that. And that's just don't jack.
Well, no, and that I wouldn't do that either. Like if I ordered.
I don't mind doing it to Pulse. They do it to me all the time when they cancel my pre-order, and then
I've never had them cancel anything on me. But also,
Adam is saying you don't have a complete set without the field. He's giving you a hard time.
You can say that, but it doesn't bother me. It's like telling me Punk sucks. I go, okay, I don't care.
Yeah, I know.
but for me, because I'm doing reviews,
and
I do take doing YouTube seriously. It's not my main job. I would love for it down the road, and I do have a vision for it. That I would like it to be a second income that can cover the toys that I buy, or at least come closer than what it does now. So yeah, getting it first is, or as early as possible, is very important for me. But if I wasn't doing that, I'd just sit there and let it wait. I wouldn't be in a rush to get it. I'd find the cheapest that I can get it, and that's where I'd order it from.
Yeah. So are there any collection rules for a Punk with Toys? You know what I mean by collection rules in this instance?
No.
What are the things? Let's say are there hard and fast rules that this is not the line that I'm going to cross in this collection. This is not what I'm going to buy. These are the lines that I'm going to stick to.
No, not really. I'm okay with. Because I don't have to have everything in a scene. So, I actually collected. I kept this horrible Super 7 SDCC bat sitting over here. But no, I don't. It doesn't matter to me. I have a display in the front, right in front of my TV. All the gargoyles are there. There's G.I. Joe in there. There's some X-Men in there. There's Boba Fett that's in there. So they're all mixed. Now, they're not fighting against each other. And I really don't even mind that. I don't mind having a display where I've had my gargoyles fighting other people and stuff like that.
Yeah. We were talking about why the pre-order, should something happen. This is why small businesses do the right thing. Big business, they cancel your pre-order. They don't give a crap. Ted cares. This is why I use these.
I understand that.
So
I know it is.
But so
and listen, I would not mention Hella Dope Toys as much as I do on my show if first off they weren't on the channel. To me, you coming in and chatting and just mentioning me when I'm in the chat or whatever, that's supporting me and my channel. So I'm going to support you. But I'm also going to support you because I've listened to you and Action Figs and other people like that have purchased from them. Yeah. So I'm going to push them as much as I can. It doesn't mean that I'm always going to, unfortunately, buy from them because, like I said, I'm trying to, support some of the businesses around me. I do want to get it early so I can get a review out, to be done as quickly as possible. So it's kind of like that conflict. There's a conflict of interest that I kind of felt bad. And I don't want to pre-order from them and then cancel.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. So like that Chun-Li, when we did the whole when you guys did the toy enabling,
You mean
I
when
said
we
that I was going
enabled?
to order from them, and then the next day I ordered from them, and I put the receipt up there so people know. I'm like, and I could always remove it like Viper Island. I could just remove it. It never happened. But when I told you wrong, I told Ted he needs to ship it as soon as he gets it. I need to be the first one. Which probably everyone tells him the same thing.
Yeah. Well, they there was I pre-ordered the Ryu and Fei Long from them, and one of them came in and they were like, "Hey, do you want me to ship this out to you?" I was like, "No, just ship it when they both come." I mean, it's not that big deal to me. I'm not doing reviews.
Yes. And that's what I thought. Like when I see people paying extra money, now I'll pay a little bit. I told you that I just ordered
Yeah,
a
I know.
monthly pet. I paid a little extra, and that's because I know that I can hopefully offset the cost. But if I wasn't doing reviews and also being monetized, I would just wait and get it. Like if you order from BBTS, you just wait till you have a whole bunch in your pile of loot rather than like, oh, I got one figure, let's get it. I got that the Crimson Guard from BBTS. It came in right away. No one else was getting it. I had them ship it out, so I gave the review out, and it did really well. And that was before I was monetized. But when I look at how many subscribers it helped, it helps me out tremendously. But if you're not doing stuff like that, some people are just impatient. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all are impatient, or else we would go to 10 targets and Chaz would be make memes.
When I first got into collecting again in January of 2022, I was really impatient. I mean, but I have since mellowed. Now I do a lot of pre-orders and I pay less money for stuff. Particularly, things that cost more later.
But I'll tell you, but with Classified, because I got into it a little late. I bought, the only figure that I bought aftermarket was Destro. I bought it off eBay for like $30 when it was like 20, because you weren't finding them. I walked into Target at noon and found the Cobra Island Trooper just sitting there. The next week, I walked in at Saturday at noon and found Beachhead. The only figure that I didn't get until they did the re-release was the Baroness, and that's because my kids and I couldn't get out of the park that we were at. We left. We go into the Target, and I come around the corner, and some guy was holding the only Baroness that I had seen at that point, and he wasn't about to give it up. And my daughter will still bring it up as a bad memory for me.
Yeah.
I have two of them now, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, the Snake Supreme and Zartan, I ended up with, I have two of both of those. The Zartan I bought from overseas, and I paid a buttload for it. And then 2 weeks later, it came up on Pulse at retail.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That's when I learned my lesson to not do it.
I learned my lesson because I had seen how much the 00 Snake Eyes was. And I'm like, I'm not paying for that. Then they reissued it on Pulse. That's when I got it. And then they did it again. And I'm like, if you miss it, they will re-release it.
Yeah.
Not in huge quantities.
Up to a certain amount, though.
Yes, it's not in huge quantities. But I get one. I don't need another one. I'm good.
Yeah, my second Mindbender, he's been pushed back to September.
Really, I don't need a second one. I got one. I'm good.
I'm one of those weirdos. I need it in a box too. Okay.
But it can go right back in the box.
It could, but I want both. I can have both. That's how this works.
You can. But for me, it's easier because I don't have to worry about getting two. I couldn't imagine buying two Serpentors.
Well, for the most part, when they went to windowless, I've stopped that too. So really, Mindbender will be my last double that's not a troop builder. So I know that
coming back.
Doesn't matter at this point. I got ones that I wanted up, and they'll be on the wall. So, it's if there's any that come along after that I want to put up, I'll just get an extra one and put it up. But for the most part, I'm not going to be. I don't need that because I already have the number, right? So I don't need to worry about getting 12 of them. So, do you have
all my
anything in
classified
inbox?
boxes too.
So you do have any inbox collection?
No.
No?
No, I have.
Are those the?
So I have a Lady J up there
Mm,
from Walmart because Walmart just shipped me a free one. Thank you. So I just left it in there because the card actually isn't bad. I did open the Sunman back there. And that's it. I can't think of any. Oh, you know what? I take it back. I have. I guess I have a couple inbox figures over here, but I don't collect anything. I have a Spirit that's in inbox because I bought it through a sale on
BBTS for like $12. Yeah.
GameStop. It came out to be like $8. So like if you ever see those sales on GameStop, and let's say you're like, well, I'm not gonna buy enough to get like the discounts, just buy it, and you can do it. You can do this also on Entertainment Earth. Like if you don't have enough for free shipping, you just buy more of this on pre-order and they cancel it, and it doesn't go back and adjust.
Yeah.
So I just had this thing sitting there, and they shipped it, and I'm like, yeah, it was like $8 or something.
Yeah, no, I picked up a bunch. I picked up that whole wave again just for customs.
Do you know what? I was with Dan Yu from the Marvel team.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Toy Anxiety.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting because they were asking like if there's anything that he has to pick up, and he said, if I go into a store and I find all 4 turtles, I have to buy a set of them. Because it doesn't matter if I have it or not. If they're all there, I have to buy. Which I'm like, how many sets of turtles do you have? Like, you got to have like.
You would think at some point you would run out of space for turtles.
But I guess just thinking, like, if you walked over the NECA section, you'd probably never find them. But all the Playmates, you're gonna find them all the time.
Yeah, no, the Playmates are everywhere.
Yes, DJ, I agree. GameStop is awful because they just cancel your stuff and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, no. we won't go into GameStop where they took an extra 3 months to get something in stock that everybody else had to ship out. It was.
I got my bats before Christmas, so I had those before everyone else 2 years ago.
Is there anything that you would want to do with your toys that you currently don't?
I would like to have a bigger display.
Okay.
So I would like to have a bigger space for the O-rings where they can actually look like they are in a battle scene. But I would also like that with the 6-inch figures. So it sounds crazy, but I'm already looking at like in my living room because I have a space of what I'm going to do when the Hiss tank comes in. And now I have to start thinking ahead for the for the Dragonfly. But I like that type of stuff I want to have in some sort of battle display.
So obviously Joe is your favorite all-time toy line, yes. Right? Why?
Well, how much time do we have?
We have time.
Okay, so I told you, I was sitting there playing Star Wars, and I had the Lone Ranger and Tonto on their horses and the Snowspeeder. That G.I. Joe commercial came on, and I remember looking back at my dad, and I said, "Can I get one of those?" And he said, "Oh, we'll see." We walked into Sears. If anyone our age remember, Sears had a toy department, and it was a very nice toy department. And I remember the first time seeing G.I. Joe there. And I said, Dad, can I get a figure? And he said, get 2 vehicles. Now, you're a kid, and he's telling you 2 vehicles. You asked for 1 figure. I remember picking up 2 vehicles. One was the Vamp. I don't remember what the second one was. And he said, why don't you put that one back and grab that one, which was, I believe, the Hal, which I know was the Hal. He goes, because that one has a figure, too, and that way you have 2 vehicles and 2 figures. And honest to God, it was like the roof opened at Sears, the lights shined in. My dad's like the smartest man in the world. Like he just not only did I get 2 vehicles, but he was the one that was smart enough to say, why don't you get that one because it has a figure, then you'll have 2 figures. So there is that. I mentioned before my mom passed away when I was 13. And that would have been towards the point where you're not really playing. But she would go to Kmart, and she would just pick up 2 figures for me. Getting the aircraft carrier. I've told the story. I'm not going to tell it because everyone seems to be aggravated with the shipwreck stories. But just getting all those shipwrecks and then going down and having the aircraft carrier. But why G.I. Joe? I've always been interested in military. I never wanted to join the military, but I've always been interested in the military, whether it be, movies or G.I. Joe or Army figures. I mean, we all played Army, right? I mean, the greatest thing ever. You just pose them somewhere and then you flick them over when they got killed, right? You didn't care.
Little Green Army Man.
Yes. And again, you see them. I still see them now. I'm like, I should buy some and make a display. Why? I don't need more shit.
Just stuff.
But I think it's just that military aspect, and then the cartoon. And listen, for me, the comic is the canon. And no, I didn't read all the comics. The comics that I didn't sell were all. I mean, they're all beat up anyway. But they were the ones that I didn't want to sell. They're not even worth any money because everyone has them. It was the later ones towards the end of the Marvel line. But that just, I mean, there was so much to it. The amount of time that myself and my friends played with, the one guy that became my best friend, in elementary school and through middle school, we always played. But a lot of it goes back to, it's the G.I. Joe has something to do with my mom was still alive.
Yeah.
She would pick stuff up. And so it just takes you back to that time, a simpler time. So to me, like that's it.
So Joe, in that instance, you could say would be a touch point for your mom.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like for me, like if you ask like what's your favorite line, there's not even one that's a second that's even close.
Okay.
Now, if you ask me my favorite thing, other than my children, it would be skateboarding.
Well, I mean,
but skateboarding, but isn't a line. Like there's many different brands of skateboarding.
No, there is, but it's part of who you've identified with.
Oh, that is huge. Yes.
You have 2 things that you identify with: toys and skating.
Yes.
So those are part of your identity that makes up part of who you are.
Very much so.
Okay. So
it's
it's fine that you can equate them because it's fine. It's while this focuses on toys and how we use them, a skateboard is another type of toy.
I agree 100%.
So it's not, there's not a distinction that needs to be made. So are there any vintage toys, any toy lines that you would like to see be remade using today's modern aesthetics?
Yes. So I would love, we've heard this 100 times, Mask. I would love to see Mask done. Probably in a 3.7 line. Just so you can match it with G.I. Joe. Now, if you went back to the original Mask size because you want to fit them in with it, well, you can do better articulation now with the figures than what you could back then. So it'd be just fine, but I would like it so I can mix and match the figures that I like with my Joes. I would like to see the O-rings, and I understand why there's no focus on the O-rings or the 4-inch line over at Hasbro. That doesn't make them money.
Yeah.
I would like to see I would love to see the O-rings come back, but with like with all the figures they were doing, like those ones there, I really wish they would have made it so that the neck could pivot down.
Yeah.
Rather than just going back and forth. And I wish they would make it so the wrists can come off and can turn. So you can actually get them in shooting positions and different things like that. You could probably do a boot cut, but that's something that Operation Recall and
Callsign Longbow.
Callsign Longbow, which I back both of them, they're doing.
And Delta 17, I believe, is another one that will be doing some.
Yeah, no, I didn't back that. I just backed those two.
No, Delta 17 hasn't come out yet. They're still in
Yeah.
that. They're still in that pre-production,
But the wrist thing is huge because if you collect O-rings, like the guns do not cross over.
The way the hands worked and the way that the arms, even with the swivel grips, it just you always had an awkward pose for anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you could twist those wrists, and I mentioned before, and people said, "Oh, there's already the Thundercats line." I would love to see the Sparrow toys have the Thundercat line.
Yeah.
Because the articulation is wonderful. I understand what Super 7 Ultimates are, but you're talking about cats and the Thundercats are supposed to be highly posable.
Yeah.
So the fact that I buy a Chitara that her knee doesn't even go 90 degrees, well, you can watch the review on that in the Tiger and Chitara and see where it took me.
I would like to see someone else get that option. And I mean, it's Warner Brothers' decision to make. I mean, it's not like somebody else couldn't do it. But I mean, even when they did the Matty Collector ones, but it's basically the same buck that they're using from the Matty Collector's time. So,
but I'm trying. So the other one that I really. So this is one I love. This line, Jason and Real Warriors.
Okay.
That is truly, when you think about it, that was the first pop and swap line. Oh yeah. Like, everything was meant to be pop and swap, and not where you have to boil it.
No, yeah. You just whatever wheels went with whatever thing, and you could put the pieces and the accessories all went on each vehicle.
It was so ahead of its time, where you had these you had the good guys, which were all mechanical, but the bad guys were all. They were the Borg before the Borg.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would love to see stuff like that.
Yeah. Just fun stuff. Those were toys. Those were toyetic toys. You could play with those toys. You could use creativity, and I think Lego kind of fills some of that void for some people. But for our generation,
Lego's wonderful for world building.
Yeah.
Because it's at a small scale. And you can fix it in any of your Lego lines. It doesn't really matter. If you have a city of Lego, you can have your Avenger Tower, and it doesn't matter that it's in your Harry Potter land.
No, it doesn't. And that's the interesting thing is we would twitch as collectors if we had Harry Potter right next to the city, but for whatever reason, for Lego, it seems it's like if it's the medium's different, so it's okay.
Yeah, but when you said Eagle Force, do you remember the original Eagle Force, the little metal figures?
I don't remember the original Eagle Force at all.
I love them. They were just these little metal figures. Now, They have a booth at Joe Fest right now.
Yeah.
But they're all 4-inch figures.
Yeah, the Fresh Monkey Fiction.
Yeah.
Doing them. Yeah.
And they're really cool looking, but it doesn't give me that same feel. Where I think in 3.75 O-ring mask, I think that would. A matter of fact, there was someone on Instagram, one of the Motu people, and he combined the Battle Armor Skeletor and He-Man to look like the 2-pack that was an exclusive back when we were
Mhm.
kids, but it was the back of the box that had the figures lined up like the same way, and it hit every feel today when I looked at it. I was like, that is awesome. Like just the way they were all set, it was just awesome.
So, are there? You briefly touched on Thundercats going to a different company. Any other figure companies that you would like to see, or any other properties you'd like to see change hands?
Not that I would buy. Not that I would buy too many of them. I would like to see, and this is going to make people mad, Hasbro have the DC line.
Interesting.
Because you could finally have the figures scale together and not spend $80 to $100 to get an import figure that scales. You could finally have Thor versus Superman in the same scale.
Well, we had the DC Multiverse ones that Mattel was putting out. They were 6-inch, roughly.
Yeah.
They scaled a little small, 6-inch, but I've got a couple of those, and that's how I know they scaled a little small.
But I would like to have just the two that are just universal. Like they're just interchangeable. I know that would kill Allison because Allison, how many Batmans are we up to being announced so far since the stream started?
412. And
but no. It's funny because people sit there and they say that they want McFarlane to get the 38 today. People say they want McFarlane to get like the Marvel license. I'm like, no, you don't.
Mm-mm.
Like, have you looked at the McFarlane figures? Yeah, he puts out a lot.
I like some of the sculpts, but overall, they tend to be top heavy. Yep. The ankles suck.
Yep.
And the wrists are terrible.
They'll never do pinless joints. Now, I'm not a guy that has to have pinless, but there is an aesthetic feel to it. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to have those in scale. And McFarlane's never going to do it. No. And his don't scale, like his figures don't scale well with, let's say,
if you get the animated series figures, they're 6-inch, but they won't aesthetically fit in with.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, but
you want them to aesthetically fit in nicely together. We're like this Destro here. He scales with classified perfectly.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you don't want to spend $100 on a Destro. Yeah. You can buy the $25 one from Classified. And I'm not going to say he's just as good, but he works just as good in your display.
Yeah. It's after seeing the Destro in hand, it was a little different than seeing promotional pictures because sometimes that's misleading. And that's one of those things where if I'm going to spend $100 on a single figure, I want to see somebody have it in hand. Messing with it, playing with it, doing the things, posing it, whether or not it's dynamic. At that point, then I'll spend the money.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So,
and when you're talking soft goods, when you hear soft goods, the first thing you think of is Mego.
Yeah,
and you're like, ugh. But with him, it just everything fits nicely. Nothing seems bunched up. Everything is nice and smooth flowing, and you go, it's nice not to see a joint.
Yeah. Well, that's what Mafex is. I mean, their joints are so smooth. I was so shocked the first time I opened my Nightfall Batman.
Yeah.
That first 5 minutes of playing with it, I could get it into poses I couldn't get a Marvel Legend into. There's no way in hell I get a McFarlane into some of those poses.
Now, see, to have the whole Nightfall series going up against the X-Men would be awesome.
Yeah.
in the same scale. Marvel doing it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, how many Wolverines do we get? We'd get almost as many Batmans.
Yeah. But
Not as many as McFarlane. We know that.
Thing. You get, well, it's like the newest wave of figures for the Marvels. What are we getting? Another Iron Man and another Cap. How many Caps have we gotten this year? How many Iron Mans have we gotten this year?
That Cap Buck looks so nice, but that head sculpt, and I understand why the head sculpt looks like that, but it's awful. But I would buy that on clearance and put a good head sculpt on it and throw it in with the GI Joes.
I have not got to see those Iron Fist ones. I think I've seen it. If it's the green outfit one, then yeah, I've seen it. And the green outfit made me a little twitchy because it looked a little weird.
You could get Super 7 for $55, Matt. Might have to find a new moderator after that.
Yeah. Are there any toy purchases that you regret? Any buyer's remorse, buyer's regret?
No, other than there is. Any of the Super 7 Ultimates. It's not too much, but
which Ultimates?
Well,
all of them, none of them, some of them.
All of them, absolutely every single one of them. This thing is a piece of trash.
Okay.
All right. This thing broke on it. If you push down too hard on the backpack, it'll snap off like so many people's did. It was missing a part. The explosion stuff. The guns are bent. It's garbage. It's just trash. And then the Super 7 Thundercats that I bought. Now, the first two Panther and Lino were built off the Mattel buck, is what everyone tells me. Okay. So I gave it a chance. When I got the Tigra, well, again, you can go watch the video and you can hear me getting more and more mad. And then Jitara I bought because I was like, well, you know what? I should have all four. I ended up selling them for like $180, I think, to someone around here in Michigan. And again, that's not like a big purchase to me. $55 for a figure is, I'm not trying to poo-poo it or anything. But no, there's nothing I really regret. Sometimes, picking up an O-ring thing and coming home and finding you already bought it. But that's just, stupidity.
So are there any figures that you're missing that you want?
Oh, there's always things you're missing that you want. I couldn't tell you which ones I'm missing offhand for my O-rings. I have them all in the book. At least I did. I have every single one that I have, what's complete, what's not. I spent a lot of time doing that. So there are some O-rings that I'm missing. Like I said, the Rattler, that's the big one that I really want. Classified, I have everything. Most everything that I'm collecting right now is modern.
So on the now my brain just went to space. That's fantastic. I love how my brain works sometimes. So if space and money weren't an issue, what would you collect and why?
Well, I would army build the classified to a sickening amount because I want a display. But at the same time, I would also do the same with the O-rings. Because to me, they have the best army builders. And classified, no matter what Articulated Chad says or how he feels about it, and I know you can get a 4-inch figure that has the same amount of articulation, but the size of them, you can just see the detail that much better. So with size not being, or space not being an issue, I would love to have a large scale like that. Same time, I'd also want an O-ring / 4-inch because that's like walking in and seeing your childhood. But even saying without having space be an option, I still wouldn't imagine you'd have a flag that's classified scale. But you will for the O-ring, and then to have planes flying around. And then I think the other one that I would do would definitely be Master of the Universe because of all the big play sets. And to have it where it's a distance away from each other, they're not right on top of each other. That's what was always fun as a kid. The Terradrome was usually upstairs in my bedroom while the aircraft carrier was in the basement. So G.I. Joe and Cobra had to go a space to get there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the aircraft carrier or the base was like right there next to, the Terradrome. But I would get masked. I would be awful. I love displays. I love Boulder Hill is a perfect example. Like you have Boulder Hill. Like it's okay, you build around that.
Yeah.
The Terradrome, you build around it. Castle Grayskull on Snake Mountain. So I would have a fucking museum. Sorry, that's my F word I'm going to use, all right?
So, in our little world, our toy sphere, it's becoming more and more what I would like to call polarized.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in that polarization?
Tell me how you want me to explain that.
Do you see yourself as a pot stirrer? Do you see yourself as a bridge?
I am definitely a pot stirrer, and that is because I am the center. I am a pot stirrer because I will tell you what I actually think.
There's a reason I included this question because it can be where we get to the point where we're all getting attacked for an opinion. Did you by chance watch Chad's rant today?
Yes, I did.
About just your opinion apparently is, a reason to attack you, which we get to that point. I think we've kind of lost all of our faculties.
I'm definitely a pot stirrer because I will speak my mind and I believe it. Okay? There are people that hate Action Force. They just hate Action Force. They don't even know why they hate Action Force. All right? They just hate it because it's not G.I. Joe. And then you have the Action Force fans, or shall I say the Valis shows, that hate the Hasbros because it's Hasbro and they have to hate it. I will speak my mind on what I think of, like the Valaverse line, right?
Yeah.
I did that on the live stream. I know that's going to bother people. I'm not being personal about it. I'm telling you how I actually think, what I feel about it. Great line. Figures are awesome, but I'm tired of the repaints. That's just me. But by saying that it is a trigger word, I still never did the trigger warning. I always want to do this trigger warning, use the trigger figure. But I'll say stuff that it's all stuff that I believe. I have no reason to poke the bear. I'll also, and I know some people do it, but it happened this week. I have no problem calling out Viper Island. He's bad for the community. There are people like him in every community that are bad for the community. And I've mentioned it before. There are G.I. Joe fans. A lot of G.I. Joe fans are not toy collectors. So they don't understand. They want to get in the line. They want to find out. They see this guy has 15,000 subscribers, bought and paid for, and they listen to what he says. And he lies about things. I called him out for stealing other people's merchandise. And then he pulled it down, which is even more comical. And I've proven how he bought subscribers during a specific point. And there are other people that will call him out, but most of them will just, they're just, Chaz is amazing. But Chaz is just throwing shade at him.
Yeah.
I'm actually pointing out stuff that he actually does and what makes him bad for the community.
And I think there's always those negative aspects. I mean, the one reason I started this channel is because I started seeing more and more of the negative things with toys.
There is a specific clique of toy YouTubers and toy collectors that are lashing out at people.
Yeah. And it just,
you know who it is. I've already mentioned.
It should be fun. I know who it is. It should be toys should be fun. At what point it became something that it's not, and it's become a toxic kind of recursive cycle that these people can't get out of.
And in the toy YouTuber that attacked all the Motu people, and including Geek Dead Life, I even sent Jay an email and I said, the way you guys handled it was amazing. You made jokes about it. You never once said his name or his channel. And dude, their viewers are so quick-witted with the shill stuff, the fact that they play around with it. Yeah. He did an amazing job. Me, on the other hand, I'm going to say what I think.
But I think that's the difference between a self-aware community and a non-self-aware community.
Yeah,
and I think we have enough negativity in the fucking world. Do we really need it in fucking toys?
Hey, you can't use 2 F words. I only got 1.
I mean, but realistically, though, do we really need it in toys? This is supposed to be fun.
I agree. But again, like I know that I am considered a shit starter because I'll speak my mind. And again, I'm not being personal. I've listened to people here in Detroit attack the Ford family for the Detroit Lions, and they get personal. And it's like, it is a football team. I understand you're mad, you're invested, but you are attacking a specific family, and not because of how they handle the team. You're an awful human, and we see this over and over and over. So I'll say what I mean, and I think there's too many toy tubers that they're very boring. They just kind of speak. They tell what they say, or they have their talking points. They don't say anything negative. They don't say anything positive. It's just like, hey, this is the figure that you're going to get. This is what it is. They talk about why they like it, and then they move on. When one of the things that I do a lot is I reach out to people after my live streams and I ask, hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? What can I do better? One of the first things I remember asking Matthew is, I go 3 hours and I'm like, am I boring people? And he goes, you are anything but boring. Yeah. But I think just sometimes when you're very honest about things, and I've always been someone that can kind of pull myself out and be honest about whatever it is, that comes off as sometimes being negative. And it's like, no, I'm just pointing something out.
Yeah.
And after a while, you get tired of hearing how original something is when it's not.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's nothing new under the sun.
I agree.
Everything is iterative processes of other things. So it didn't change. You might change it a little bit, going to change it about 20% so you don't get sued because that's how copyright works. But the reality is there's nothing new under the sun. We're just all spinning our wheels doing it. You might change up a little bit here and there, but reality, no. But I just thought it was interesting because I'm trying to stick to being, I'm not going to say I'm going to be sappy, ridiculously happy. If I see something that's wrong on figure, and if I'm alive, you've heard me say, nope, don't like this. Don't like this. I mean,
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, and listen, that's going to touch some people the wrong way. There's nothing wrong with saying that a Valaverse figure that just came out, right? The new True Builder, that is $23 for the figure. I think it's $23, and then $14 for the gear pack, right? That you should be able to get that same figure all put together for the standard $32, but also give the option to buy the two separate things.
Technically, you did. It was just through Dorkside Toys before they went bankrupt.
Yes, but all the other figures, they have a specific figure with gear that's meant to go with it.
Yeah,
I think it's great that you can buy separate, but I really wanted the Delta Trooper. I didn't get it because I wasn't going to spend an extra $4 on a figure that's already a repaint of a repaint of a repaint.
This is you and me right here. We're with Action. People are trying, the biggest issue that would call our community is too many people are trying to choose sides, all in the hopes that they will be liked. F that. I'm 50. I don't care if you like me or not. And I'm very much that way.
Yes.
I'm going to be me. Whether you like it or not is debatable. I mean, if you great, if you don't, great.
And again, going back to the owner of Action Force, the reason why, my personal belief, the reason why so many people have jumped on him, be positive or negative, the positive people that completely follow him blindly no matter what, is because he's in the community and he'll speak his mind. Yeah. All right? And I'm not going to get into politics, but I'll say the reason why I believe so many people like Donald Trump was because he just spoke his mind, right? But there's a time and a place for it, right? I think when you lead a company, lead a country, you have to watch what you say. It's all fun and games and everything when it's you and your buddies. But when you're trying to be a CEO, on the same token, you have the Hasbros that are like, they can't stand it that he is doing something that, and I didn't think it either. I didn't think that it affected what Classified was doing. I completely disagree. I truly do believe that whole Hasbro team had to look at what was happening in Action Force and say, we need to step our game up with the way our figures are made, the weapons. Now, they're still, in my opinion, they are fighting an uphill battle because Action Force, McFarlane, Mezco, everyone else is 14 and up, where Hasbro is 3 and up. That's why you get these soft, crappy weapons. You know, but you go back and you look at Monday Night Wars between WCW and the WWF, competition made us have better wrestling.
Product, yeah.
And right now, I think you're getting that with Hasbro. Like, they have to step their game up. Well, I mean.
And yes, Ray, Artist Shark is a good kid, and yes, it's okay to mention his channel. I think we get to the point, and and I don't know how we got to that point with toys, but we did. We get there. I mean, every time I go, and if you go into let's say it's a Hasbro live stream for anything, and you just see some of the comments that people make. It's like, how childish are you?
Well,
how old are you? and why are you doing it?
And okay, so
I don't get the mentality of that. I guess it's just life is so bad that you have to lash out at a product or lash out at people who are doing their jobs.
and so this is okay. So this kind of goes on that. Like when I watch the 3POA and I watch Bobby, and he's talking about how toys are made. He's talking about the industry. That stuff is so interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about his feud with Lenny. I don't care about his feud with Dwight. I don't care about the personal aspects of things because I'm only hearing one side, and frankly, I don't give a shit.
Gotcha.
All right. The reason why I'll call Viper Island out is because he's lying and he's setting a bad example.
The thing with him though is he's been told before, he's been talked to,
Yes.
and he just doesn't give a shit.
Yes, and well, that's what I'm saying. Like he's different.
Here's my other thing on that one, Lawrence. I'm going to tell you, the more time you give to that person,
oh, I know,
the more likely you're going to drive somebody go, oh, well, what's this all about over here? Because they got to go watch the train wreck. Everybody's got to watch the train wrecks or the car wrecks while they're driving past it, rubberdecking. Everybody's got to watch the train wreck.
I do agree to a specific point, yes. But again, I'll go back to Mike Zero. Like, if you know anything about Star Wars and you know Mike Zero's name, he is someone else that you just go, what the hell? But again, I don't care about personal feuds. You know, no one wants to hear me come out and on my live stream. I take that back. People do want to hear me come out and go at you and the issues that I have specifically with you. But there's no one's business because they don't know you. They don't know what happened. And the same thing I tell my kids. What have we heard 100 times? There's 3 sides to every story. Your side, my side, the truth. And to me, that's where I think I understand why people gravitate to him because he's in the business. But it has polarized this community.
Yeah.
And when people start, taking one side, they can't see the other side. I can't tell you how many videos I've done where one of the Valis shows think I'm completely negative towards them, and then at the same time, that same video, one of the Hasbros thinks I'm negative towards Hasbro, and it's like, how is this even possible?
Yeah. Well, and like I said, when I asked you the question about where you saw yourself, and this is kind of where I wanted to go, I think we get so wrapped up in focusing on those negative aspects of other things is that we kind of miss the point that toys should be fun.
Yeah.
And I think we get so fixated on that we miss the joy.
Yes. But sometimes when you're being objective about things, it comes off as negative rather than objective.
There's objective, there's critical, and then there's cruel. And there's levels there that we can strive to be better at as a community.
There's no reason to get personal. When I see people, and I've seen this so many times in classified groups, mention Emily's weight.
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, most of those people are not in some spectacular shape, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hell, they're on the internet collecting toys. No offense, guys. But like things like that, like people are going in those streams to attack people.
Yeah.
And there's other people that I had to stop following, stop watching because, the whole Emily thing where people are completely attacking her, and it's like,
yeah,
when people get on her because she's not a true G.I. Joe fan. She didn't collect it when she was little. Well,
I'm gonna break a lot of people's hearts right now. You do not want a fan in charge of the brand.
Thank you. I love
Because what
G.I.
ends
Joe.
up happening is they don't make good toys because then they just focus on certain little things that we do as collectors. You don't want that person in charge.
No.
I wouldn't hire me to be in charge of the Joe line. I would be horrible at it.
I love Dodges, right? I love you. You don't want to put me in charge of the next Dodge lineup that's going to come out.
Yeah.
Because I'm, you don't want me to design it because I don't know. And again, it's like you have someone, and in my opinion, the way Emily is, it's like, okay, she wasn't a fan of it. She delved headfirst into it. She learned about the brand. How many people do you think become the GM of the car dealership that aren't car guys, right? But they understand what they're doing. Yeah. She's a marketer. That is her job. And when I hear people going like, "This whole team needs to be fired," look where G.I. Joe Classified is. It's like, yeah, it wins like everything as like toy line of the year.
Yeah,
it doesn't get pushed out because it's Hasbro's brand, and you've made guarantees to Disney, which owns Star Wars and Marvel. Your figures will be out. So guess what? Those other figures get put on the back burner until they can get out.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You want to know there's a lot of things that happened to that wave with Falcon that kind of caused that whole disaster.
Yeah.
So, and those are wheels and things that we don't see because they don't talk about them. And that's okay. They're a large company. They don't owe fans anything. That entitled fan is a really interesting dynamic for me. That entitled fan where they think that they own it, so then they can talk crap about it and do all this other stuff, but it's not addressing what actually is the problem.
Yeah. But Hasbro's there to make money.
Yep.
They're not there to make, like when people want O-rings, they're not there to make thousands of dollars. They're there to make millions of dollars with the brand.
Yeah.
So when I contact Lenny and I said, "Hey, what's going on with this?" and he said, "Hey, we're bringing it up. We're talking about it." He will. If you reach out to Lenny and you talk to him nicely, he will have a nice conversation with you. But I reach out to Bobby and I said, "Hey, dude, what's going on with this? This is breaking." Well, it's his company. He's on with the factory right away. I'm sure it'd be the same thing with Sparrow Toys, right? Like you reach out to them, you're going right to the head. But if you reach out to Lenny, he's got to go to Emily. Then Emily's got to go up to someone there, and then that person's got to go to somewhere. And by the time he gets to the factory, they're like, "Hey, you know what? We've already produced 100,000 units. We don't care." You're right. These are all.
I think we make them problems that they're not problems.
They're first world problems.
They are first world problems, very much so.
Yeah. So okay. So this is the type of stuff that bothers me. Okay. So today someone mentions today or yesterday, I don't remember what it was. The Dragonfly. I'm gonna wait till I see all the tiers before I back it. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you just back it now to get to the tiers? And then if you don't like it,
you can back out. Yeah.
And then you can back out and you don't lose anything. Unless if you really don't have the $275 and you're worried you might forget about it. And the guy's response was, "I'm an adult. $275 isn't a problem." I didn't say that it was. But guess what? Same $275 to spend on a toy, that's also not something to be ashamed of.
It's a luxury.
Yes.
It's a want, not a need. I don't need the Dragonfly. But do I want one?
Yes. But is my electric not going to get paid? Is my
hope
mortgage not going to get paid? No. I'm not saying there aren't people that wouldn't do that. But this guy, he didn't understand. And I'm like, okay, all you people that say, like, once you see all the tiers, then I'll back it, that makes no sense. Just back it to get to the tiers. And then if you don't like it, just drop out. It's that simple. But don't do this whole thing like until I see everything. And then when I say like, hey, if you don't have the $275, there's no shame. If you can't afford a $25 figure, There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
Okay? And I don't know why people think that's why I hate the toy swappers so much. It's kind of like you can't afford that, right? Yeah, I agree. It is. Like I said, it is. Yes, $300 for a toy is ridiculous. $600 for a Eternia, crazy. I didn't back that. But hey, you know what? If you have the money and you can do it, good for you. But yeah, I hate the toy swappers for many reasons. But again, it's like it's a $25 figure. All right, first off, or 50 or whatever. Like you should not be swapping because guess what? Some little kid is going to end up. Grandma's going to buy this for a kid, and his birthday is going to be ruined because he liked this GI Joe figure, and now he has some crappy Scott Summers that he doesn't even know who it is. Yeah. But there's no shame that if you can't afford every $25 figure, there's no shame that if you can't afford one $25 figure, they are not necessities.
No.
If you need to buy, go buy your toilet paper because you need that. Something I need to get tomorrow, just so we know.
So, is there a time that you see yourself not collecting? What does that look like for you?
I can't see myself ever not collecting. I mean, if we got to the point where I had to scale back, I could see myself scaling back to just being G.I. Joe. Not being as crazy as I am with everything. But to me, it's just collecting is in you. Like I've said, like I said, I mentioned, collectors shouldn't have kids because it's awful. Like we want to collect everything for our kids. It's something that just keeps my mind off the real world. Yeah, that's exactly it. It sounds awful, but it keeps your mind off the real world. There's so many. I mean, I have so many real world things going on in my life. And I equate it to when my ex had left me. I had started skating again, but every time I went out and skated, it was all in my mind because she was still living here, lived here for 11 months. You're going through this custody battle. It's absolutely awful. And when she finally moved out, it was like this weight lifted off my shoulders. And this girl that was a roller skater, she said to me, like, it was a couple months after, she goes, I don't know what it is. She goes, your skating is so much better now. You just seem relaxed. And it was so true. Because I had my mind, I didn't think about it anymore. I was just going out and skating with this free, clear mind. And for me, toy collecting is the same thing. I get excited for these G.I. Joe reveals. Like, I'm like a kid, so excited for it. I drive all day. There are specific spots that I can remember when I stopped to watch a live stream. Like I pulled over so I could watch a live stream. One is actually right passing by, taking my daughter to gymnastics. Every time I pass by it, I'm like, I remember stopping there to watch a live stream. So I can't see myself ever stopping collecting, but I could see myself, if I needed to, pulling back.
Okay.
But it's just something I just enjoy. I mean, I would collect something. I would find myself.
You could collect spoons like Highly Articulated does. I mean, they don't take up much space, and it would be easy to,
I'd rather find a girl that I could spoon.
Okay.
Spoons, but
you know what? I can appreciate why he does the spoons. But yeah, no.
Am I missing something? Am I not in on the inside joke?
His aunt was the one who did the spoon collection, and it's something that was meaningful to him. But we kind of joked about it here and there about it, and because it was something that he threw in as a curveball. I was kind of hoping you had something in a curveball, but you kind of did with putting the skateboards as the figure display stand. So it was kind of I'm figuring out that people are going to throw me some curveballs here and there.
Here's a skateboard shoe rack that's banged downstairs. I have They're all over. They are all over. When my ex moved out, I bought specific skateboards to hang, and they were of videos that meant a lot to me back in the 80s and early 90s. And people hang guitars. Why can't you hang a skateboard up there? That's the way that I looked at it. So I don't know like the whole story, but to me, like him collecting spoons because he did that with his aunt, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Because listen, my daughter collects Funko Pops. We go to the Funko Pop store. There is a Funko Pop store. Why is this Funko Pop store so awesome? Because it is in the same suite that the skate shop that I worked at for years is in. That's no longer there. That's the only reason why I saw it. So you get $2 for every A. Well, my daughter gets straight A's. So guess what? Next week, as soon as she gets that report card, we're headed there.
Yeah.
And she jokes with them and she has a good old time. So it's kind of like collecting. I kind of collect Funko Pops through her because I don't collect them, but I like that she has this. She collects something, I think, because it keeps. I mean, she likes them, but it also.
You have a common interest, so you guys get to share that bond basically on that love of collecting.
Yeah.
So, as I ask every guest, as we get to the end here, I usually ask this big question. Because this is what it's really about. It's about finding the joy in every day. It's about things being fun. So, what did you find joy in today?
I found joy that someone didn't bother us the whole stream.
I know. I was like,
he literally like. Let's see if you guys can see this. He just looked at me. I looked over at him.
Curse it. You had to curse it, right?
He's like, he is staring at me. I'm one of those people that I look at things. I don't look at things that I don't have and look at the things I do have. So seriously, that dog is. I mean, yeah, he barks, but it's so much fun. I can hear you breathing heavy. But literally, just getting on here with you and having a chance to talk toys, because there's no one really to talk to. There's not someone to talk to. There's joy in seeing that the Arctic bat shipped. Getting home, sitting down, eating my pizza, and catching up on Mayans. And then taking a quick nap before I came on here.
All right.
I didn't really do much today.
Sometimes that's how it works. Sometimes we got to take the simple pleasures.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
But like getting on here, seriously, just like pulling down the toys, like just pulling these down and kind of showing you like the Stinkor fits in perfect with. Yeah. Like that is just joyful, just pulling them down and having a quick little talk about it, showing you how wonderful the Mexico Destro that you're about to open is.
Yeah. I'll get to him tomorrow. He's sitting.
That's it. I woke up today,
TV, looking at me, staring at me every night. Ooh, hello. I don't know what fell down there, but. With that, anything that you want to promote? Since I've gotten the last couple weeks, and I need to.
The what?
I keep forgetting to let people promote. I'm just like, oh, dang it.
Well, I think I would assume most of the people watching right now know where to find me. Monday Night Toy Ramblings, 9 to midnight-ish it seems to be running a little bit later. And then this week, Matthew and I will be doing Punks on Film, and we will be talking about Mad Max 2, which I'm waiting for Amazon to deliver it tomorrow so I can watch it. Action figure, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. You're getting 2 for sure. And one's going to be a Valaverse just for you. And then the other bi-weekly show, which will also be on Thursdays, but the opposite Thursdays is Thursday with a friend. Go watch the one, if you haven't yet, from yesterday with Allison. She can talk probably more than I can. So you can imagine it runs pretty long. But that's fine because I listen to Jim Rome. If you watch sports, you know who Jim Rome is. And he always says the best interviews are conversations, not interviews. Yeah. If a sportscaster does a bad interview, it's 5 minutes. If you and I, we do a show like this and we put someone on that it's like pulling teeth, how the hell are we going to get out of it? We got to go 2 hours. If they can't talk, I knew Allison could talk because I've seen her before and we've actually briefly talked before. Tony, listen, I'm not doing any damn work. No prep for Tony.
Tony
him and I,
talk, so.
I might have to start, at like 8. What is it with here we go with Jim Rome again? Listen, I model a lot of what he talks about. Like that is why he is the best. So, so I do a show every Monday. You all know this though. But if someone's watching on the replay or someone that's not, chatting, Mondays and Thursdays, those are the 2 live shows. Thursday will mostly be live. I am going to do some pre-recorded ones with people that might be in different countries. And also when I'm in Florida, I'm going to do a pre-recorded one. So, and then watch for my reviews. Hit the like button. Always just watch through all the video or all the commercials. That's how I get paid. All right.
Well,
you guys want to know how little YouTube pays me or anyone. All right.
I got Tony coming on next week, and I will more than likely be on Ostradamus Toys tomorrow night doing some unboxing of that Mezco, I would assume, unless he is.
Okay, I got to ask about the Ostradamus thing. So I know you guys do this the unboxing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys all unbox things? Because I know, like when I was on, I wasn't.
Sometimes. I mean, not every time. There's also Legion class once a month, but. For the most part, yeah, we all kind of unbox at least something. Okay.
So I know when he had that open, sometimes you gotta watch stuff. No, I specifically was not trying.
So Matthew has taken the pot stirring.
Yes.
It's all right.
No, I specifically wanted to do something different, and again, I mentioned to you. I think when I reached out to you before, trying to give you after your first one, I like the idea of what you're doing. Like you have specific questions of what you want to, discuss. Like you have specific things. I did find myself when I was talking to Allison, kind of mentioning some of the stuff. But I think you want to know more about toys. I want to get to know more about like the person, where they grew up, what other hobbies they may have had. And it's specifically people that are in my community.
Yeah.
So I don't want to step on your toes because, I mean.
Matthew was busy pot stirring, that's all.
Listen, I talked to Matthew a lot, so I know his shit. But I've articulated Chad before. I said, I think he does a wonderful job when he does his interviews.
Yeah.
because it becomes a conversation, and he leads people in a wonderful direction because he'll be asking questions that I believe he knows the answer to, but he also knows that the viewers, they may not know it.
Yeah.
So it's a story that he wants that person to tell. He may already know it, but he's leading it into a discussion. And it's the same way a lot of the sports, the sports guys that I watch, they do the same thing.
Well, I think with anything, there's that level where you just want to really just have a conversation. Now, mine, focuses on how we play and interact and do our things with our toys, but it also kind of lets me know, in ways that you're using your toys to help you manage stress.
Yes,
to help
and
you.
that's why I think what you're doing is very unique.
So, with that, I'm going to ask our people in the comments, what did they find joy in today?
Watching me. For the 4th time this week.
Yeah, you've been busy. Your voice was going to go at some point.
Allison sent me a message and he goes, I don't know how you do it for 3 hours every Monday. I'm like, I am so amped up when I'm done. I won't go to bed till like 12:01.
Yeah, no.
Like 1:30.
I'll go take my meds and I'll pass out in 5 minutes. So
you said that before, and I'm like, are you kidding? If I go to the gym at night, if I skate at night, I'm amped up. I'm like, there is no sleeping for me.
Yeah, no. With that, I am going to say goodnight to everybody, and if you can be anything, be kind.
You got a new subscriber.
Did I?
Has here.
Oh, sweet. Ray, that would be Tony Romo in the chat somewhere. If he's still running around, I'm sure he's here.
Oh, you know Tony, the really bad quarterback for the
for
the Cowboys. Now he does really bad broadcasting with Bob Costas.
And then tries to sell you Skechers shoes.
Can't leave out the Skechers shoes.
All right.
I don't even have to bend over to tie them anymore.